Welcome to the Team GBT podcast. You know who we are. Do I have to keep introducing ourselves?
Probably.
I feel like
I don't know. We could.
this would be podcast number
1,000.
12.
Or 12.
Yeah.
We could just film an intro and then have that be the intro every time, and then we just go into it. But we haven't done that yet.
Do you want to do that now?
Let's do it immediately. Yeah.
Cut.
All right. Well, we'll figure this out
Yes.
later. But I am your host, Syed Hater. How's it going? How you doing? Right. We have best friend of all time, Brian Polito. How you doing,
So
Brian?
we're best friends.
Yeah, we're best friends. What's going on?
Not much.
Brian didn't know that a minute ago.
I knew it, but I was glad he was reinforcing it.
And I always say this, owner of the gym, owner of the podcast, obviously.
Yeah.
Ryan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Classic
I'm
podcast owner.
You know, so we actually got some questions from people, right? Partially your trainers, partially from people in the gym. So we're just going to answer some questions today. Mostly specifically, right, about athlete and gender differences when training. So let's just jump right into it. When you get approached, obviously this is probably a very simple question. When you get approached by an individual that comes in, right, as a very prominent powerlifting coach, do you automatically go in the mindset like, okay, he's probably going to do all like the 3 major lifts, or is this something you direct like, okay, squat, bench, and dead are good, but because he's an athlete or he's doing something else, maybe we'll avoid those?
So would you use the big 3?
Would you use the big 3?
I generally don't.
Okay.
For athletes, they don't need to necessarily do any of those movements because that's what they're doing here is just getting them generally bigger, faster, stronger, leaner, more mobile, whatever it is, more stable, just to to be better at their sport. So this is all general work that they can then hopefully take out to the field or the court or the pool or whatever and be better in practice and be able to become better athletes because of it. So generally, I don't have our athletes do the big 3. We do variations.
Yeah.
We did a couple of our baseball guys in today. One of them was doing trap bar. One was doing trap bar with chains, like just working a little more speed work while keeping the weight down a little bit. We generally, outside of maybe football bench presses, I generally don't have anyone else bench press. And for football, it's more because their coaches want them to.
Is there a reason why that you like don't have anyone else bench
We
press?
do a lot of dumbbell pressing. We do a lot of push-ups. Like I say, the baseball guys that are here today. We have one of the guys was doing feet elevated push-ups. His feet were on a bench with a 45-pound plate in his back for like sets of 10 to 12 reps. So I mean, like, I like that better for sports than bench press. For a bunch of reasons, like it's more like their shoulders are actually moving. We're on the bench press, we're trying to lock them down, which is going to have a better character of their sport, keep their shoulders a little bit healthier. And they don't need to bench press. So we'll do dumbbell pressing. I like having that range of motion where they can get a little bit better stretch at the bottom, but also kind of go through and move as they need to and find a spot that feels good. Like, I always use me as the example, like with my shoulder and elbow, bench being locked in here doesn't feel great. But dumbbells where I can bring them down and rotate my hands and be more neutral feels much better. So a lot of times our athletes will just do that. And squat, we used to squat a little bit more, but generally with the athletes, we'll either front squat or now that we have the belt squat, we belt squat a ton. Once we get past like goblet squats, like to teach them how to squat, the belt squat's easy. There's no load on the back, and we can work their legs very hard and still do a bunch of other stuff. So I like that one a lot. I do like front squats because of the core and the upper back strength. And we do a lot of single leg work. So no, like
The short
answer is
Yeah,
no.
You can progress that stuff endlessly. And
Right,
I feel like the big 3 beats you up more than you need to.
Right, we have
on the field.
so many more options by not doing the big 3.
Yeah.
So like I said, we do variations of that. Like you'll see basically every one of our athletes is doing some kind of a hinge, whether, but it's probably not a straight bar deadlift. It's probably a trap bar or a kettlebell deadlift or RDLs or single leg RDL. Again, they're goblet squatting, they're belt squatting, they're front squatting, but they're probably not putting a bar on their back. Sometimes we do safety squat bar. I do like the safety squat bar, especially for like the baseball guys, and more than front squatting. So just it's less stress on the shoulder, and bench. Like I said, outside of the football guys, I don't think any of them bench. I think it's all like loaded push-ups, band push-ups, different like Spider-Man push-ups, dumbbell pressing, landmine pressing. We use a landmine a lot, but yeah, it's so.
I think too is like it takes for like powerlifting, like that's our sport. Like we're in here and then we're at
Right.
practice.
You have to do that.
Yeah, but then everyone that's not a powerlifter or a weightlifter or strongman, they go to practice on top of that. So it's just like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you don't want to be beat up for your actual sport.
Like it doesn't matter, if our baseball guy as a catcher can bench press more than another catcher. It matters if he can get out of his squat position fast and be able to snap the ball down to second base, or if he can swing, pretty violently and make contact. And like I said, if we can get them stronger, if they're already hitting the ball, making good contact, hopefully by just getting generally stronger, the ball goes farther. Now they can hit, instead of singles, they're hitting doubles. Or if there's, the swimmers, I tell them all the time, like, get a better jump off the block. They cover more distance before they even take a stroke off the wall on their flip turns, and then each stroke they get a little bit farther. But they're practicing their sport. So the sport-specific mentality that I know a lot of coaches will tell you about,
Yeah.
I'm not very sport-specific. I'm athlete-specific, whatever they need. And that's different per person. So we're not like, if you're a swimmer, I'm not practicing your flip turns here. Do that in the pool. But like I'll have you do goblet squats so you get a better press off the wall. We'll do some TRX stuff to work on like, the range of motion through your shoulders and stuff like that. But we're not doing flip turns.
Does that adjust like on season and off season?
Yeah, I mean, off season, we can be a little bit more, focused on what we're doing in here. Again, using the baseball guys as an example, because like up here in Connecticut, baseball starts, I think, for games Monday. They've been just practicing for a couple weeks in scrimmages. I still like to keep the intensity pretty high in season, but the volume comes down a lot, and we do less. We change the exercises less exercises that are really going to beat you up. So, like we'll do reverse lunges instead of lunges, just a little bit less eccentric stress on them, so they're not as sore. We'll use chains a little bit more to lower the absolute load on the bar, but at the top they're still lifting as much weight, and focus on that a little bit more. And then it depends on what they're doing. Someone who's pitching every fourth day is going to be training very differently than someone who maybe is playing shortstop every day or is maybe only playing once every couple weeks. So again, it comes down to athlete specific. So if someone who's not, maybe they're a sophomore playing varsity, they're on the varsity team, but they're not playing a lot, their in-season program might not be that much different than their off-season. But someone who's catching every day, their program is very different because they need a little bit of a break in here because they're catching, 1,000 times a week. So
So you don't need to do it much.
you don't need to squat in the gym if you're catching every day.
Or you'll squat and we'll throw you a ball while you're
Yeah, I love. Eric Cressy's got a good quote, like with the sports specific stuff. He was coaching a boxer for a long time, and he said sports specific would be like him doing trap bar deadlifts while he punches him in the head. Like
It's ideal.
Like
That's our new program.
like that's so dumb. Like you don't like, or like having having that boxer like throw punches while holding weights. Like he can go box and he can do his boxing training and he can still do push-ups and dumbbell pressing and get stronger in those motions without having to do sport specific. So I think again, it's more the athlete.
Yeah.
Is
But
there,
we should start doing punches in the middle of squats.
we should start doing punches in the middle of
It
squat.
was such a long way to say no. But go.
So what I'm saying is no.
So, for powerlifting at least, we don't really have an off season, right? But there's a lot of there's times between meets, hopefully, enough time, right? We've had that conversation before. Yeah. So how does adjusting programs between different meets and peaking adjust with what accessories you're going to give and what movement patterns are we going to do? Because I know there's a specific way, like you program our program, right? Is there like adjustments to that as like you get farther away from meat and closer to meat?
Yeah, I mean, like, I would say probably, and sometimes it gets sprung on me, so it's a little bit different, but like usually within 12 weeks of a meet, we're in meet prep. So we're a little bit more specific. We've talked about before, I love using variations of the lifts. You know, we'll do a lot of variations, but as that, in the last 12 weeks, we're doing a little bit less variation. You know, the variation might be high bar instead of safety squat bar or front squat or giant camber bar, where 20 weeks out, maybe we'll use the giant camber bar to work on different things. But as we get closer to the meet, we're not doing that. Same kind of deal, like, you know, maybe we're doing a close grip bench on one day instead of just doing your comp grip every day, but we're probably not doing floor press. We're probably not doing military press that close to a meet. So generally, like I said, 12 weeks in, we're getting a lot more specific to the main lift, squat, bench, and dead, and really still focusing on the musculature to keep as much muscle, or if we can still build a little bit before going into the meet, where outside of that 12 weeks, I'm more worried about working on like true weaknesses, like, you know, so if you're really bad in one movement, let's really try to like get that movement back up, and trying to build as much work capacity and muscle as possible. So the volume's a lot higher. We'll use a lot more single leg work, a lot more dumbbell work, a lot more back work, but less specific to squat, bench, and deadlift. But even when we are squatting, bench, and deadlifting, like we'll do more volume on everything. And I'm actually looking at changing some of that stuff right now. So good luck, fellas.
Yep.
But I would love if we could have more dedicated off seasons. I know that's
Yeah.
tough because like when you're competing, you do want to compete more often. And if we're competing 3 times a year, we're probably only getting 18-ish weeks of like off season. If you're doing 4 times a year, your off season's pretty short unless you
have one.
unless we really shorten up the meet prep, which we've done. Like, you know, where sometimes people have decided they want to do a meet, and it's like, okay, that meet's in 4 weeks. All right. You know, things change very quickly. But I'm trying to look at a little bit different ways of doing that so we can have more off-season style programming, even if it's
Okay.
not necessarily off-season.
It leaves like less room to, like, I think, I don't want to say all powerlifters, but I mean, I probably all powerlifters could probably benefit from taking a little bit of an off season, so they have
Yeah.
time to work on
Right.
more of the imbalances, more of the weaknesses. Because if you're in meet prep for a year, it's a terrible fucking year. And like, why? I mean, I think most people would benefit from taking time away, not away, but like time to address the things that you wanted to while you're not working with a really heavy load.
I think you're starting to see a lot, like, it's kind of like that Alan Cosgrove always talks about, like the pendulum swinging back and forth, and like the pendulum was like competition, squat, bench, and dead as often as humanly possible to get better at those lifts, to get and people do. You get very good at the lifts because you're practicing them so much. I think that pendulum swinging back a little bit more now. You're seeing a lot of guys I'm posting on Instagram, a lot of coaches that they're like, you know, oh man, I haven't done a dumbbell row in like 2 years, and they're loading up rows, and they're like, man, like front squats feel so much better than I remember, and they're like really pushing that. And military press, they're like, man, I haven't military press in a decade, and I think that's a great thing. Like I said, we've talked about in our other podcasts, like I like variation. I want to be strong at everything, because I think for most people, and we were just talking to a couple of our members about this now, is like most people are not going to go to the top level of their powerlifting federation or any sport right away. So like, why not get better but be good at a lot of things instead of trying to focus on one thing? And if you're higher level, then all right, then maybe it's time to focus a little bit more. But I think if we can branch out more and do more of that stuff, that's great. And that's why I said I'm trying to figure out how we can kind of incorporate some of that stuff a little bit more often.
I mean, that stuff changes. I mean, I feel like every year there's kind of like an adjustment, or we try a new thing. Like the principles stay the same, but we might try a new thing, or like
There's a
try new
million
method.
ways to get
Yeah.
to the same spot, and
And those.
I want to find the best way.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what that is.
Is that sort of why you incorporate sort of that like bodybuilding aspect in like at the end of our programs?
Yeah.
right? It's just to address those.
Yeah, because I say it all the time, and I don't mean this to be rude to everyone, but like almost everyone can be leaner and gain more muscle.
It's really fucking rude of you to say.
Like,
You
How fucking dare you say that to me?
well, I get that, and people are like, "So you're calling me fat?" I'm like,
Yes.
"No."
Yes.
just fatter.
Just not as
But,
skinny. That's what I'm trying to say.
But I mean, like, you know, except for like, there's a few people at the top levels that are just like, you're like, wow, okay, like that's impressive. But like, I mean, for the most part, you can gain a little bit more muscle. You can be a little bit leaner, which I don't know anyone that's like, man, I really wish I looked better. You know, I'm sorry, I don't want to look better. Like, I really like, oh, like, you know, I'm gonna gain muscle and lean out. Like, oh, I really don't want to see those abs. I just hope I hope I stay fat.
I really want to stay fat.
Yeah. So I think that's always a good thing. You know, like I said, the last few weeks before meet, we're not going to really be building any muscle at that point. So a lot of that will back off a lot because that's not the focus. But even like the last couple weeks, I'll still really make sure that we're getting a lot of upper back work and tricep and core work. So as we're deloading our volume on everything else to get ready for the meet, we're not detraining in some of those important positions and muscles.
We got one question from an audience member.
Oh.
Yeah.
audience member.
What is the closest to a meet that you would introduce a new exercise? Sort of like a weird variation or like something you just learned. Like, yeah, I want to try this now.
I guess it can vary on whether it's an accessory or supplemental movement.
Yeah.
Whether it's a barbell movement or a dumbbell or.
Within 6 weeks, we're probably not going to bring in anything really new.
Okay.
Because like one of the best ways to get sore is to do something new, and if you're not used to it and it's something you've never done, like the chances of getting hurt are probably more because you don't know the exercise. So within 6 weeks, we're probably not going to do anything you haven't done before, unless it's something like I said, like a very small, like oh you've never done like a Zotman curl. Okay, that's easy. Let's do this instead of a hammer curl.
Yeah.
But like I'm not
really
going to
took someone down.
yeah, like.
Like the Salmon girls fucked my meat prep up.
But like I'm probably not going to throw in like anything that's like a supplemental movement that maybe you haven't done before. Like that can wait till after the meet.
Yeah.
Outside of 6 weeks, like maybe we'll throw in a little bit here and there. Like I said, outside of 12 weeks, like yeah, we'll do a lot of that stuff. That's fine. To try to see what works better for someone or what they just need to work on. If you're not, and we get some people that do compete that are purposely not peaking for the meet. They're just training through it. In that regard, that's different. So I'll still give them some of the new stuff because like we're purposely not peaking. So let's just keep training and then use that meet as a learning experience.
Yeah.
So we do have someone that's competing next week, Annie. I don't know if you're listening.
Oh, shout out.
And I gave Annie a ton of new shit this week.
Oh.
But Annie's not peaking for this meet. She's coming back from some injuries and she's doing really well with her training this week. But like trying some new things, like for both fun stuff and just new things to see what she can do and work on other weaknesses. And like I said, normally, like when she's back 100% and wants to go into the next meet hardcore, like we're not going to do that a couple weeks out. But this time we're like, all right, like I'm going to give you some new stuff and, see what happens. See, and like I think a lot of it is just, like I said, it's a mental break too.
Yeah.
I think squatting, benching, and deadlifting gets very repetitive, can get boring, and like just doing something new, and sometimes just doing that bodybuilding stuff just feels good to do something different.
What does that change for equipped lifters? I mean, I'm just adding variation.
You're just
on
killing
top,
me.
Just on top of one or the other. Here's a new stipulation. Figure it out. Oh shit. We're okay.
As we break everything.
Yeah.
For equipped lifters, again, kind of like, and I'm probably, I mean, we're probably different in this, I guess, a lot. Like, again, 12 weeks in, we're being a lot more specific. We're in the gear more often. Outside of 12 weeks, we're not in the gear that often. Or if we are, like, maybe we're getting to the shirt, but like the squat suit and the deadlift suit, probably not that much. Or if we are, maybe straps down, or maybe just wraps, just to overload the squat a little bit. Inside of 12 weeks, we're going to be in the gear fairly regularly. Just talking to someone yesterday about they're doing bench only right now, Sarah, and she's in the shirt like every week right now. She's looking to probably go full power again in single ply, and I told her like, we'll start to get the feel of it, and then as we get closer to the meet, we'll be in it more, and then the last few weeks we're going to be in it a lot to make sure that she's prepared for it, that she knows the gear, then she knows how it fits and knows where the groove is. But 20 weeks out, you don't need to be in the squat suit all the time, unless if it's a really loose suit and you're just maybe you're not getting a lot out of it, then that's probably fine too. But you don't need to be like in your competition suit 20 weeks out. That's just,
Unless you don't like feeling good.
Unless you like.
yeah, you're just doing a lot of work. Like
really hate yourself.
like like I said, if you want to go in like a light wrap and like a loose suit, then sure, why not? But so it's pretty much the same.
Yeah. How do you feel about using like board presses, pin squats, partial range of movements for raw lifters? Because I know you see a lot of equipped individuals
using
use
boards a lot more.
I've gone back and forth on this. I don't know, probably every year for the last 10 years. Right now, at least, we're doing a decent amount of board pressing. I really like the boards for a lot of people, like just getting used to holding some heavier weight, getting some extra volume in without maybe going the full range, just saving the shoulders a little bit more. Like I said, being able to use some volume at a weight that maybe you could only do for 1 or 2 to the chest, and now you can do it for 4 or 5 or whatever to a board, is a good way to get stronger, I think. I still think we don't only use boards. We're not doing board pressing and floor pressing and that's it. We still full range press every week. But I do like to use partials pretty regularly. Deadlift depends. Sumo, I definitely like blocks. I like people getting on the blocks every once in a while just to like really overload the movement, work the hips. Conventional, maybe not. I find the blocks to be kind of a tough position for a lot of conventional pullers. So, both of you conventional. So like if you're pulling from mid shin, that's a tough spot. But like maybe that's a spot that you need to work on. If you go much higher than that, it starts to get easy. Like once you get above the knee, it's just ego lift. It's fun.
1,000 pounds.
Yeah, but again, we still pull from the floor. It's not like I'm getting rid of pulling from the floor just for block pulls or rack pulls. We don't do a lot of rack pulls anymore.
We can do, you can do like a halting deadlift or like an RDL. There's other ways to address the range of motion issue without using a block or a...
That's one that we do use a lot.
Yep.
More in the off season is like a halting deadlift, like just pull to the knee, for 3 or 4 reps to get your more work off the floor, and then like add a block in after.
Yep.
So we kind of like skip the knee, but you're getting a lot of extra work from the floor and then a lot of extra work from above the knee to, like I said, overload volume more than anything. We do pin squats, but generally it's still parallel or right below.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of squatting high ever.
Just the idea.
I might change my mind on that again, but like right now, the only reason I would write like a higher squat is if it's like a rehab style thing that we need to work on.
Range of motion.
Yeah.
Like range of motion, yeah. Like I don't really like squatting above parallel because I think you're teaching bad habits, that one. So squats probably not at all. The other two I definitely like partials, even for raw lifters.
I think we use I like using a pin squat and Anderson squat like right below the point where like lifter slows down. So if it's literally at parallel, if they sink it and then they get stuck, their knees cave at parallel, address it like right before, and then have them hold it, and you could definitely, it's pretty obvious too, once you give someone like a decent amount of weight, like, oh, that's your spot. And if you could kind of not overload that, I don't think I would push the weight so much. I'd probably start pretty light and then build up.
Yeah.
But that's beneficial.
Yeah, like I said, more of a volume builder there because I find like most raw lifters, if they get out of the hole and get past those first few inches parallel, they're going to get the lift.
Yeah.
So training, to a box or a pin 2 to 4 inches higher than that, like they're probably moving a ton of weight.
Yeah.
And I guess if you just want to have some extra weight in your back to feel it, but at that regard, you're not going to do that in the meet anyway. So squat to depth and
Shut up.
maybe use reverse bands to feel some more weight.
Well, then you can do that. There's a million ways to go about it. I think that's the same thing too. I said before, like where things change. Like we'll try different things, or if blocks wasn't working out for someone, then maybe we'll try like bands or chains or something. And that also gives the lifter 3 different stimuluses throughout their whatever off season they could work on.
This podcast is going to be super hard to follow for anyone listening because we are just like all over.
Yeah, we are.
That's right.
That's
Your
okay.
questions are in the same vein, and I'm just going.
I mean, that's okay. So I know on one of our podcasts we talked about the goal board, and sort of everyone's goals while they are in competition, right? What are your goals, or do you set goals for individuals off season, like out of competition? Like they should be hitting this number for a certain amount of reps, and like how is that sort of ingrained in your programming?
Yeah, it's a little bit tougher because I know like if you're competing in powerlifting, like you've got very specific numbers in mind. I'm actually looking at our goal board to see if I can figure anything out off the top of my head. But I can take something and be like, okay, if someone's at this point now and they want to be at this point, like this, that's not like, I'm going to pick someone. Brian, you're terrible. Lift more weight and curl 1,000. Syed, you're helpful with those numbers, huh? Learn to love. Let's use your bench. I'll use your bench. You've got 330 on there. Your max right now is?
315.
Right. So you don't have a necessary range for that 330 written up there, but I mean, you're doing the May meet, right? Yeah. So we've got a meet in about a month. You're at 315 right now. I would love if we can peak you to hit 330 for that meet. It's probably might not be reasonable. But I know that you're at 315, you want to get to 330, so we're looking at 15 pounds. I can then say, okay, I think it's going to take him this long to get there. We need to be at 320 by this point, 325 by this point, 330, boom, here we are. Or if we want to get to 330, then I want him to be able to do, let's do some math in my head real quick, like around 300 for a triple. Can you do 300 for a triple right now? No? Okay, we need to work on that. Okay, do we want to hit like 315 for a double? Like that would be a huge increase. So yeah, I do have some stuff like that. I do have general numbers based on like squat, bench, dead of what you should be able to do for other lifts that I've just used on my experience coaching people. Like I don't know if they're necessarily right, but looking at a safety squat bar and saying, okay, your safety squat bar should be roughly 80 to 85% of your competition squat. If it's well below that, then that's a weakness, and maybe we need to figure that out and figure out why that's so low. And work on the safety squat bar and work on the muscles that are getting hit harder from that movement.
It's a good indicator. That's why, so I think we said it before too. Like, if you just have your lifters doing squat bench all the time and like squat feels off, I'm like, all right, well I can only see you squat and figure out a few more things. But like, if you do a safety squat bar and you cave in instantly, like, hey, we need upper back work or something, like it gives you a wider image to work with. So if we set a goal, like we might not have to like overload your competition squat if we can address like your safety squat bar, and that goes up, that by default will fix an issue in your competition squat.
Right, and I know that's a lot. It's probably a very different than what a lot of coaches, especially like in USA Powerlifting, are doing right now. But I said, just to use round numbers, like I said, like if you want to squat 500, generally want your safety squat bar to be 400 to 425. If you're not around there, let's say you're only at 365, then my goal is to get your safety squat bar up, and then we look at it and say, okay, like the safety squat bar is going to put more stress on your upper back, it's going to put a little more stress on your core, so we need to strengthen upper back and core, which would then strengthen the safety squat bar, so we can work on both of those to bring up safety squat bar, which will then, in theory, hopefully bring up your squat instead of just squatting. So I like that because in my mind, like most lifters, if you look at the board right now, most lifters have squat, bench, and dead up, and then maybe a couple other things. In my mind, I have like 50 goals in mind that are branched off of these other goals. Like if you want to squat, like I said, if you want to squat this, then I want you to front squat this, high bar squat this, safety squat bar this, belt squat this. I have those in mind, so I'm building up those goals, whether or not I even tell you what to do, like what the goal is, to try to build up your goal. and even and some as simple as like doing more pull-ups or doing more push-ups, things like that. Like that will have a carryover to. Will hopefully have a carryover to what you're doing.
It's also like people care more about like I know people that like care like I did my single arm overhead like single arm press like it went up like 10 pounds and that's something to get excited about and that like drives them more and then that might be a dumbbell row or a curl and like if you're focused on tangible things that kind of goals that like are within reach and you're with that working on weaknesses it's a lot easier to like get in the gym and
I just like having lots of small goals that we can chip away at instead of seeing a goal that's.
It's not just total.
It's and when you do see, and I think for the most part we're pretty good here. But when you see someone that puts up a goal that you're like,
fuck.
You're like, someone's like, oh, like I really want to squat 500. Right now I squat 385. It's like, it's gonna be a while. Yeah. Like that's not gonna happen overnight. Like how about we shoot for like 390, 395, 400, 405. Let's knock that out and get stronger and see where you are from there. But like, I just like that. And like I said, and then having, I mean, if you look at the goal list that I put up and that I kind of developed from what I see from you guys, there's like 45 different goals on there. To me, that's fun that you can be like, oh, look at that. I hit another one. I hit another one. I hit another one. And the idea being that like it should carry over to the main lifts, and if it doesn't, then we know we need to work on the main lifts more. So it just gives us more feedback. I like data. I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. I like that stuff.
Nice.
I want to see these numbers because like I can use those things to be able to evaluate and see what you're doing. So I want to see more numbers.
Sick. Rapid fire.
I don't know if I can do that.
Favorite quad exercise? Go.
Here right now, belt squat. Most gyms, close stance high bar.
Favorite chest exercise?
I was just talking to Dave about this. Now that we have one, decline bench press, maybe dumbbells.
Favorite hinge exercise?
RDL.
Favorite core exercise?
Oh, that one's tough because core can mean so many different things.
Yes.
Core strength, straight leg sit-ups. Core stabilization, dead bugs.
And your favorite strongman event?
Fuck strongman. No, Kristen, Tim, Sarah, Kate.
So your favorite strongman events are the people here that do strongman because we don't do that shit.
I'm kidding. Ooh.
I would say yoke, right?
Oh, I hate yoke.
What? I love yoke.
Me personally, I don't know. I like log press, but I would to give to people farmer walks.
Yeah, that's the most successful.
And then your favorite powerlifting event?
For me,
yeah.
like I like squatting. I'm a better squatter than anything else.
Yeah.
But like I deadlift, I think is a better test of actual strength. So I like deadlift,
Sick.
even though I'm not good at it.
All right. Well, our next podcast will address gender differences.
Oh, okay.
So, you know,
Hot topic.
Hot topic. Very hot topic.
Cool.
Like the store. Ooh, that's a good place to
Shout
end.
out to stores.
Shout out to stores.
Yeah.
Speaking of stores, no wait, teamgpt.com isn't a store.
No,
But-
it's not.
No.
But you can get coaching there.
You can.
And we might send you a shirt maybe if you buy
Yeah,
it.
we'll get.
No.
Yeah, no,
No, we'll give you a hot topic gift certificate.
no.
Thank you so much for listening. To send in questions, DM me on Instagram at Syed_likes_stuff. Follow the gym on Instagram at TeamGPT. For more information about the gym, visit GleasonPerformance.com and join the team. For online coaching, go to TeamGPT.com.